What's up, guys? It's Dwayne Griffin, aka Mr. Group Homes, back at you with episode 2 of Group Home Millionaires. Hey, listen, man, we're about to have so much fun. You guys stay tuned, man. It's about to be so exciting. I'm going to explain to you exactly when I got started, my ups and my downs, and how I got up out of those things. Let's get it. So, starting out, when I first got certified, I got certified as an independent provider, which means that I had to actually do the work myself. But I was fine with that because, I was in my own business now. During the times that I did get started, I did start with non-medical transportation. And it's this small story, man, because I think this is important to our community that people know this. I got started because, one, I had my wife supporting me, and then two, my brother, my friend, Mr. Melvin Barnes, he actually hooked me up with his brother, Willie, who actually had a 16-passenger van at the time. I didn't have a lot of money. I just had a lot of ambition. And ambition can go a lot further than what you think, guys. And so moving forward, Willie let me get the vehicle, the van, the 16-passenger van. And, he will allow me to make payments on this van. And that's how I first got started into the non-medical transportation field. Being an independent provider, it would have been better for me to do transportation, because if I did home provider services, I wouldn't be making that much because I only have one client. So moving forward, I started with one client, started transporting him out of Maple Heights in Cleveland. And then started moving forward, and I applied for another person. And sometimes, guys, when you're applying for clients, it's all a numbers game. If you apply for 10, you're probably going to get 2, but it's just as bad, it's just as much as how bad you really want it to see, exactly what you want to do with this. So by January, this is in August, by January, I probably had 3 people. So I'm applying for people, and you got to map out the routes. This person may need to get dropped off at 9. Another one get picked up at 9:15. You got to map those routes out so they're not far in between, and make sure you're being on time. Moving forward through January, February, I had accumulated maybe like 14 clients. And then March of 2020 happened. We all know March of 2020 happened, the pandemic outbreak of COVID-19. When I say I lost each and every individual that was on my workload, I was making some pretty decent money, getting paid weekly through the state. I lost each and every individual. However, through me saving money and also utilizing my resources, I was able to stay afloat, because one thing that I noticed during the pandemic when it first hit us, that the guys that I wasn't transporting anymore, they were staying home. So the home provider who owned the group home was making more money because the guys returned home, and they shut the day programs down. So that stuck out to my mind the most, that, hey, this thing may be around for a while. It may not be around, but something that's pandemic proof was providing services inside these homes, Mr. Group Homes. So a company that would normally be making money for a client for 13 hours, it turned to the 24 hours. And so if you had multiple clients and they all didn't go to their day programs, which nobody did, because even some jobs shut down. Of course, adults with developmental disabilities is going to shut down, their day program. So they was making more money during the pandemic than any time at the point in anybody of their careers. And that's what triggered me to focus on the housing instead of the transportation. And that's what I turned it up a notch. So now that I realized that all the home providers was making money, I knew I had to transition into that phase. So I wind up getting my agency going, which is another step up. You know, it's another investment. Little as $800 here in Ohio. Then you got to get insurances and things of that nature. But again, when you're hungry and you're ambitious, nothing can stop you. So moving forward with that, I received my first client, and I want to say I received. Hold on. I received my first client from a young lady that I knew. Shout out to Samika and Reliable Community Care. Now, mind you, if you guys can reflect back into this story, I spoke about Melvin and his brother, and I'm speaking about Samika. I spoke about the mom that gave me the job, and this should resonate to everybody in our community that it takes a person to give other people opportunity in our community. It takes good-hearted people to be able to see that, it's a need for somebody to have a position, a job. Sometimes that stuff be temporary, but what are you willing to sacrifice to do that? So moving forward, I think Samika gave me my first big client, which I started seeing some pretty decent money with that. And I started realizing that, I like this. So I started applying for clients like crazy that fit our mode, reaching out to my friends that work for the school districts, working part-time with us. Some of my teammates from college playing football at the University of Akron. All the above. Anybody that need a part-time job, they can holler at me because I was going to employ them. At the same time, I knew I was getting a professional. And those are some of the disparities that I saw, the bigger companies didn't display, hiring 18-year-olds, and no offense to an 18-year-old, but a young lady, but more than likely they're going to be playing on their phone on Instagram, and, this client may need what they call a ratio of 1-to-1, and he may be eyes on, but you playing on your phone, and this client then eloped, and he ran in the street, or he down the street and stripped all his clothes off of him because you're not paying attention. So I seen those small disparities in the companies, and I knew that I wanted to supply my company with the right employee, matching them up with the right client. And that's why I really think I'm winning at right now. So the biggest thing that I really took out of even starting a business was embedding myself into the field. So when I say that, you have to commit to what you're going to do in this business, And in this business, the word group home falls underneath 10 plus different categories. You got sober living, halfway housing for men and women returning home from prison. You have veterans. You have juveniles that are in bad homes and situations, and they have to be removed from the home. You have juveniles that have discipline problems from violence and other things. You have senior living. You have battered women. It's so many adults with developmental disabilities. It's so many different categories. So embedding yourself into the field is one of the most important things. So how I did that, I was site coordinator for Achievement Centers for Children, which for the Cleveland Browns Adaptive Sports Program for 4+ years. So I built a lot of relationship with families. Not only did I see at the games, but I saw in the community once I started getting active as a provider, building relationship with them. I was an MC for Josiah's House, which is a day program on the west side of Cleveland that the adults with developmental disabilities actually go to, during the day. That helps them with their activities, helps them with their stimulation. I was the MC for the fashion show 2 years in a row, and I was an attendee and a donor for 1 year. So, and I'm still active with Miss Irene. Shout out to Miss Irene Jones. We will be seeing her on another episode as well. But the most important thing about getting into this group home field is to embed yourself into the field that you would like to be in. If you say you want to play football, then why you not in the weight room? Same concept. So make sure you guys embed yourself, get involved in the community, and know your verbiage and know your information. And the super benefit of me embedding myself into these communities, I was able to build relationships that I didn't have on Facebook or on Instagram. These are interpersonal relationships that I knew that one held me accountable because I know Miss Irene Jones and her son Josiah has. He's in the spectrum. So that's one, accountability for yourself to make sure you're treating this serious. And two, just having those relationships. So her being able to have different parents contact me once they're done with her day program to come to my home provider services. Okay, that's one thing. Me building relationships with other parents on the Cleveland Browns adaptive sports program, asking about my transportation needs, and their transportation needs, and where do I transport, and how did I get into the business, and so on and so on. So I'm talking to parents on a every weekend and day-to-day basis, and and then they were referring other people, and that's how this thing goes. So you have to embed yourself to get more and more in depth on what you need to do. So check this out. Make sure you guys tune in because I'm gonna drop some gems on how you actually can get started and how to apply those skills that I just talked about. Stay tuned for episode 3.